Bold Bull 2 is the 10th fight in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, and I hate this fight. Bull comes back with a new gimmick, being impervious to being knocked down with regular punches, and this can confuse newer players. Speedrunners know that to knock him down quickly, you need to use star punches and a whole lot of them, but getting the stars is no simple task. With Bull's near impenetrable defense, you can either play it safe at the cost of time, or you can risk it all for eternal glory. This is the world record history of Bold Bull 2. Even from the beginning, it seems as if almost all the top players steered away from this fight. There were strategies developed, but no one was actually putting in attempts. Why? Well, for one, this fight isn't very easy to perform attempts on, as the fastest way to get to him is to put the Piston Honda code in and then fight your way to Bull. And two, there are some key fundamentals of the Bold Bull 2 fight that really love to show you that there is so much time that can be saved, but you will never ever be lucky enough to get it all. Just to show you one of these things, unlike every other fight in the game, if Bull is standing still or even performing a punch, he will always dodge your star punches. One of the only times you can land a star punch for free is when he performs this weird move we call the ear rub, and when the punch lands, it deals a massive 23 damage. This looks great on paper, but the downside is you miss out on landing a free punch for a star. So now you can see the dilemma. It's either land big damage, or get the thing to land big damage. Even for a fight where you only get guaranteed stars, he doesn't do the ear rub nearly enough. To combat this, Red Tom had to get pretty creative when he came up with the first fast strategy, one of the few which was never named. Let's take a look to see what he came up with. Right off the bat, Red Tom starts with a face punch that goes completely through Bold Bull's opening rolling jab and connects for a star. This punch is random and only goes through about 1/16 of the time. Yes, I will repeat that. This strategy starts off with a 1 in 16 punch. This is what they came up with 21 years ago, and if it didn't go through, you just had to start the fight over. Bull actually goes for 4 rolling jabs in the opening, so Red Tom buffered 3 more random. No, he did not. No one is doing this. Okay, so what Tom actually did was dodge the second rolling jab and land a delayed gut punch for a second star. This gut punch is quite tricky to land, only 3 frames, but it also cancels the third of Bull's jabs, and the 4th jab just gets a simple dodge and counter. Bull then goes for his ear rub, and Red Tom launches a star for 23 damage. Before the clock gets to 20 seconds and Bull's pattern changes, he goes for 1 more rolling jab and Tom performs a swift dodge and delayed punch for a star. With 2 stars in the bank, the rest of phase 1 is super easy, just dodging 2 hooks, countering once each, and a star punch. Whenever Bull gets up from a knockdown, he will always perform an ear rub, which means a free star, and Tom uses it immediately on the first hook. Now he is back down to 0 stars and the second hook is coming. Performing regular punches is extremely inefficient, so Tom instead performs a tricky delayed punch for another star. It's at this point Bull has a fork in his pattern. He can either go ear rub triple rolling jabs, or a third hook into double uppercuts. Tom decided to go for the more common third hook variant, because at this point in the fight, Bull is still at least 2 star punches away from a knockdown. The path involving rolling jabs will mean that he will have to at least wait until the pattern completes the cycle to get back to hooks to land 2 star punches. To complete phase 2, Tom used a combination of stunning and star punches along with another tricky delayed punch to grab a star on the first uppercut. Red Tom's phase 3 was exactly the same as the opening for phase 2, but with Bull getting up with only 64 health, the TKO happens just before he gets the chance to go into uppercuts. Both Red Tom and Martin Charlebois were able to secure times of 1:35.25 using this strategy, but Eric Feliciano was able to take advantage of the fact that Tom and Martin both played the end of phase 2 safely, overkilling with the damage dealt on Bull 2. Instead, by performing an unstunned star punch, he would save nearly a second and get a final time of 1:34.48 in December of 2002. While this was the premier strategy back in the day, it was extremely flawed and it doesn't seem like it would be any fun to even try. 15 out of 16 attempts would end immediately on the first action, and even today, there is nothing that can be done to make these odds any better. Nevertheless, Eric was able to lower the record again to a 1:33.99 just before Matt Turk showed up in May of 2003 with his own strategy. the Turkish massacre. While Red Tom's strategy sounds like hell to begin, Turkish massacre isn't any better. In fact, it's exactly the same. The entirety of Phase 1 remained completely unchanged. Even Phase 2 only got a very small upgrade. While Eric had managed to curb some of the overkill with the damage, Turk would eliminate it completely. By reordering to get 3 stars before the uppercuts, he could end the phase by performing 2 unstunned star punches into both uppercuts. Quite tough to pull off, but Turk wanted the time save. Phase 3 would be where Turk included a new technique. Red Tom had required you to hit a delayed punch on a hook for a star, and then also hoped you got lucky and Bull through his 3rd hook. Instead of that, immediately after intercepting the ear rub for a free star, Turk would throw another face punch, which Bull would block and retaliate with a jab. The retaliation is random, but it's extremely in your favour with 7 in 8 odds. Like the rolling jab, you could land a delayed gut punch for a star, and now it was just dodge, counter and star punch the 2 guaranteed hooks, and Turk was able to finish with a time of 1 minute 31.25. This new move of forcing a jab to get a star is extremely useful. In the future, it would become the bread and butter of the safest Bull 2 strategies used in full game speedruns. As for its usefulness in a world record caliber strategy, Turk had found a use for it in 2003, but it paled in comparison to just landing a 1 in 16 face punch directly through Bull's guard. Still, there were many sections it could be used to speed things up. In Phase 1, Tom and Turk had waited for the natural rolling jab. Why not just force the jab since it saves a bit of time? Or in Phase 2, instead of landing delayed punches on hooks for stars, he could get all the stars he wanted before hooks, and then he could freely land star punches on the hooks, cutting out even more wasted time. These small modifications allowed Turk to break the minute 30 barrier, bringing the time down to a 128.97. Just a month after his 128, Turk would find a new method to execute Phase 2, saving a couple more seconds. After grabbing a star from the ear rub and 2 more from forcing jabs, he would then perform an unstunned star punch on the first hook. Another deceptively tricky move where you need to preemptively dodge. If you react, you will be too late. The second hook received just a normal counter and star punch. And finally, instead of the more likely 3rd hook, Turk just performed a delayed star punch landing into a 3 in 8 ear rub. After executing the Phase 3 from Turkish Massacre, Turk would bring down the time to a 126.82. This would be the final strategical optimization Turk would find on this fight. All he would do now was see red. Turk would finally see that the only way to save large chunks of time on this fight was to start going for more 1 in 16 punches. Over the next year, he would incorporate a second random face jab at the start of Phase 2 with a little move he named the Bulldozer. Essentially, it's the same sort of punch that goes through the rolling jab at the start of Phase 1, but you have to make sure to lead with a gut punch on the ear up, and also release up before the face punch connects so Bull doesn't raise his guard, which guarantees the block. Performing just one of these in the place of a forced jab and delayed counter would save 3 seconds, and this pushed the odds for a successful attempt to less than 1 in 1,000. On July 30th, 2005, Turk would pull this off and set a new world record at 123 flat. But this was still not good enough for Matt Turk. What's better than 2 1 in 16 face punches? I'm sure you know what comes next. Turk had executed a fight far beyond what was thought humanly bearable, a strategy that was going to work only about 1 in 15,000 attempts. From the way Turk described the strategy, this could have gone much lower, even cracking the minute 20 barrier. From this, it seems that due to the sheer odds of getting the luck, Turk had played the fight very safely, making sure there was no chance of an execution error. He would have taken the safe stun and star punch in Phase 2 instead of the tight unstunned star punch, and also played everything else very safely. 3 1 in 16 punches seems bad enough, but would you believe Turk had even conceived another potential strategy which he called running of the bull back in 2004, well before his 121. He estimated that if a human pulled it off, you could get a time as low as a minute 13. As far as I can tell, this is the only strategy that received a name that was never actually used, because the chance to get everything was 1 in 3.2 million, and it involved 5 random face punches. Typically on Red Tom's site, strategies will progressively get faster and faster the further you go down the page of any particular opponent. Just as Bull 2 has a unique strategy that was purely theoretical and not meant for human use, there was one other unique thing about the Bull 2 page. The rule of faster strategies as you go down is broken. Beneath running of the bull was one more strategy simply titled Brown's Way. Daniel Brown was never a world record holder for any fight in Punch-Out, and the strategy he had come up with wasn't capable of breaking any world records, but what it was extremely consistent. The big change was the opening of phase 1 when Bull is doing his jabs. If you recall, the old speedy opening was a 1 in 16 face jab, a delayed gut punch which also cancelled the third rolling jab, and then a simple counter on jab 4. At the phase's completion, you would have 0 stars in the bank and the clock would read 34 seconds. Brown's Way opened by dodging 2 rolling jabs and landing a delayed punch after each of them. These 2 jabs are actually jabs 1 and 3, as jabs 2 and 4 get cancelled because of the delayed punches. After forcing 2 more jabs to get back to 3 stars, Daniel Brown completed phase 1 at 38 seconds, but with an entire extra star in the bank. This changed the dynamic of phase 2. By landing the star into the ear rub and then grabbing 2 more stars, he could knock Bull down before even getting to the awkward fork in his pattern. As for phase 3, it remained unchanged from Turkish massacre. The most important part of this strategy was that it flowed very well. It was extremely reliable and easy to remember. And best of all, if performed to a high standard, it could get a time that dipped into the 128s. When Sinister 1 came onto the Punch-Out scene in the 2010s, he was more interested in running the full game and concluded that Brown's Way was as good as it was going to get, highly consistent and was capable of grabbing a pretty fast time. Still, from time to time, Sinister would dabble into the RNG hell that was IL World Records. As far as Bull 2 was concerned, Sinister would notice that there was a pretty significant improvement that seemed to have been overlooked by Matt Turk. By using the phase 1 of Brown's Way and the phase 2 that involved the 3 in 8 ear rub, this could save 3 seconds, the same amount of time that an entire 1 in 16 face punch would save.
Ooh, doggy. Don't tell me I'm about to get this shit on the last attempt of the night. Come on, believe, guys, believe. Oh my god. That's it! Oh, I got 23. No. How did I miss it? How did I miss it? How? Why?
Sinister wasn't able to break the record on this attempt, but with only 1 random face jab, he had gotten tantalizingly close to Turk's 121. Of course, performing this strategy and adding in a second random jab would allow him to beat Turk's time, but grinding for such luck wasn't really up Sinister's alley. I haven't spoken about any of the tool-assisted speedruns this fight has seen over the years because there is absolutely nothing that can reasonably be applied for humans. When McHazard released his first TAS in 2013, it was still more of the same thing. Face punch, face punch, face punch. But he did also find something that humans could use: misdirected gut punches. Every opponent naturally has their guard down, and it will only move up in response to you pushing up. Once their guard goes up, there is a small time frame before it can go back down. Glass Joe's is really slow, and Mike Tyson's is really fast. Bull 2's guard speed is pretty fast, but not so fast where he can block every punch, which is why the face punch can go through sometimes if you can also trick him into thinking the punch isn't going where he thinks it's going. Misdirected gut punches do exactly this. If you can get Bull's guard in the up position, then buffer a gut punch, and then repress up as the gut punch is about to land, Bull will guard his face even though the punch is heading towards his gut. This doesn't work all of the time though. Even if you do everything right, Bull still blocks most of the time. So how is this any better than a random face punch? Well, misdirected gut punches are 4 times more likely to sneak through his guard. So instead of the 2 random face jabs, Sinister could now break the record with 2 random misdirected gut punches, drastically bringing the odds down to only 1 in 56. And on July 5th, 2014, Sinister was able to break Turk's record.
World record! World fucking record, dude! Yes! Fuck yes. 120. I wish I got 119, but that's good enough, dude.
Sinister was hoping to break the 120 barrier, but after his first misdirect in Phase 1, he wasn't quite prepared to get lucky, and his punch was delayed by about half a second, and then on the following hook, he dodged pretty late, which cost him some more time. Because of these small improvements that could be made, Zallard managed to cut an entire second off the record using the exact same strategy 9 months later. Zallard's execution was very good on that attempt, but it wasn't quite perfect. Still, rather than trying to optimize it, it would be far more feasible to just add in one more random element to the fight. From now on, there would always be a very clear path to the next easiest time save. The strat Sinister and Zallard had gone for had 2 1 in 4 gut punches and a 3 in 8 ear rub. The next level would be to just go for 3 1 in 4 punches. This strategy was likely pulled off by Brandon De Silva, and a video of it used to exist on his channel, but it is no longer available. The time he got was a 117.97. A couple of months later, Brandon De Silva would drop the record again, taking the fight to the next level and ending with a final time of 1 minute 16.25 seconds.
New world record, baby! New world record! Yeah!
2 years later, on March 9th, Zallard would take it a step further, incorporating a 4th misdirected gut punch. The cool thing about landing one of them is that you can get lucky again and land a second one immediately after. There was something unfortunate about this attempt though. Zallard missed up on the D-pad when trying to dodge Bull's hook and bled more than a second with an extremely slow dodge.
Fucking quick dodge, dude. Quick dodge didn't work, man. That sucks so bad.
A mistake like this would be a complete disaster on a more optimized fight, but the luck elements were still far outweighing any sort of minor execution details, and Zallard was still able to take the fight down to a 115.97. Zallard was pretty unsatisfied with his execution, and so he continued his grind to bring the time lower. Summoning Salt suggested he go for another very minor time save in Phase 1, by landing an unstunned star punch on the first hook and countering twice before star punching on the second hook. Although the total amount of stun punches is the same, subsequent stun punches are about half a second faster than the initial one that lands, thus saving a little bit of time. As for why you don't see the same thing in Phase 2, well, you just don't do quite enough damage. Just 9 days later, Zallard managed to get the near 1 in 300 luck again, and this time, there were no minor mistakes. With the tiny optimization, Zallard was able to save more than a second and brought the time down to a 114.82. Now there was only one more misdirected gut punch to add into the Bull 2 fight, and there is a specific reason why this one was left to the end. Notice here how after the very first ear rub of the fight, Zallard forces a jab and delayed gut punch into a misdirected gut punch. Well, the job now was to convert this into a double misdirected gutter. This is no issue execution wise, you just need the extra luck. But if you do get it, it actually causes this section of the fight to be so fast that Bull's pattern change at 20 seconds hasn't occurred yet, so he goes for another rolling jab just before 20 seconds, and this ends up wasting quite a bit of time. There is a simple solution to this, you just have to perform a regular delayed gut punch and you can cancel that pesky rolling jab. Doing this perfectly is trickier said than done, as it is possible you could also cancel the jab so early that the clock still has not reached 20 seconds, and he will go for a second rolling jab. On October 11th, 2020, Zallard became the first person to pull off the 5 misdirected gutter strategy and would capture his first ever world record in this game. Unfortunately for him, this might have been one of the unluckiest world records this game has seen in the last few years, because on the double gutter in Phase 2, Bull blocked one of his punches. Despite this, Zallard held his composure and managed to get lucky on the follow-up gut punch, and he also got the final luck requirement in Phase 3. The block cost him about a second, but having the extra misdirected gut punch allowed him to bring the record down by a single increment, to a 114.61. Because of the block, There was no need to add anything additional to the strategy, which Brandon proved just a couple of months later. He didn't even go for the unstunned star punch in phase 1, sacrificing half a second, but still, with a clean fight, he was able to pull off a 114.25. So Brandon's fight didn't have the unstunned star punch. Hefe Man would just have to add it in and save that half a second that was left on the table. It's interesting to think that Turk's running of the bull was capable of getting these times, but with far worse odds than what modern knowledge of the game has brought. As of September 14th, 2021, Hefe Man remains the only person to crack the 114 barrier, setting a record with a final time of 113.97. History shows that optimization on Bold Bull 2 happens in very small steps. People will only do what is necessary to set a new world record, and only grind this rather simplistic fight when they feel like it. The annoyance of having to fight your way through Honda 2 and Soda, coupled with the seemingly ever-growing odds of the next best strategy with diminishing returns on time saves, means that Bold Bull 2 will never truly be perfected, and there will always be a next level strategy to save more time. Thanks for watching.